For Progressive Voices, I'm John Sinton, and this is a turning point. Today, a congressional infection. To paraphrase Winston Churchill, Congress has all the virtues I dislike and none of the vices I admire. And to be fair, it's not the entire Congress. Both sides definitely do not do it. So let's put this both sidesism to rest. A distressingly large number of Republican Congress critters have fallen under the sway of Russian propaganda, and you needn't believe me. Here, courtesy of Reuters, are a couple of important congressional Republicans. In another era, their warning would be run-of-the-mill, but today it's extraordinary. Quoting Reuters now, 2 U.S. Republican lawmakers warned that members of their party are repeating Moscow's propaganda on the House floor. Michael Turner, chair of the House of Representatives Intelligence Committee, echoed sentiments last week by his fellow committee chair Michael McCall, who said Russian misinformation had infected a good chunk of my party's base, mainly conservative media to blame. Meanwhile, leaked Kremlin documents show that troll farms in Russia were instructed to undermine U.S. public support for Ukraine, painting the Ukrainian regime as corrupt and pushing for border security to take priority over aid for Kyiv, which the Donald Trump-aligned wing of the Republican Party has repeatedly blocked. Go ahead. Take a moment to catch your breath. In case you're confused, I'll repeat. The chair of the Republican House Intelligence Committee says that his party colleagues are advancing anti-American Kremlin propaganda on the House floor. Rats are jumping off the sinking ship of traditional republicanism. It happens. Parties leave people and people leave parties. Here's a great example. In the antebellum, Democrats were a powerful Southern party promoting slavery as a states' rights issue. Republicans under Abraham Lincoln were the abolitionist party. Today, we're seeing traditional Republicans in Congress running for the exits, some not even waiting for the November election. They're just too fed up with the party of Marjorie Taylor Greene. They embody traditional conservative values like freedom. Surrendering Ukraine to Russia is a bridge too far for them, no matter what the Wicked Witch of North Georgia and her winged monkeys have to say. There's a plethora of research that says Russia is deeply and steadily engaged in a disinformation campaign that seeks to convince Americans that Ukraine must surrender territory to Russia. The Washington Post is reporting on, quote, an ongoing campaign that seeks to influence congressional and other political debates to stoke anti-Ukraine sentiment, unquote. Historian Heather Cox Richardson says Senators Mitt Romney, Tom Tillis, John Cornyn, all Republicans, and a top Senate aide to Senator Todd Young from Indiana, also Republican, as well as former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley and even Trump's Vice President Mike Pence have warned the party's ties to Russia, and former Representative Liz Cheney has said the Republican Party now has a Putin wing. We never suspected the Republican Party as a super spreader of election denialism or fraud, but neither did we think we'd see it collapse under the weight of one grifting ex-president. But it has. The former party of Lincoln has become the party of Trump. What was once a fierce defender of democracy, a stalwart of anti-Russian expansion, and supporter of law and order is now reliably pro-Russian and anti-law enforcement. As if this change of heart isn't enough, the grifter-in-chief installed his daughter-in-law as co-chair of the Republican National Committee, where she promptly implemented her selfish father-in-law's plan to fire most of the staff and focus its fundraising and its spending on nothing but defending Trump. Forget any notion of continuing to help down-ballot candidates, as has been its historical mission. Now the only thing that matters is the top of the ticket and keeping it out of prison. The party of Trump has completely abandoned the traditional Republican mission. A great example of this excerpt from Ronald Reagan's D-Day commemoration in France when he was president goes like this, quote, "We in America have learned a bitter lesson from 2 world wars. It is better to be here, ready to protect the peace, than to take blind shelter across the sea, rushing to respond only after freedom is lost. We've learned that isolationism never was and never will be an acceptable response to tyrannical governments with an expansionist intent," unquote. I guess the question is, what have we really learned? For one thing, I've learned that isolationists, monarchists, and authoritarian fanboys have been with us since the beginning. I've also learned that we've done a good job of keeping them in check, and that the time has come for us to rally to the defense of democracy once again. Judge Royce Lamberth, a conservative Reagan appointee, has, in an unusual and important move, called the attempt by right-wing media, Trump, and Republican electeds to normalize January 6 rioters as, quote, preposterous. Fortunately, there's a cure for this antibiotic-resistant infection that continues to stymie Congress. It's called Election Day, and it's fast approaching. For Progressive Voices, I'm John Sinton.
PV brings you the best progressive audio and video in one free stream. Stephanie Miller, Tom Hartman, Randy Rhodes, David Packman, Brad Friedman, and more. Search Progressive Voices on the TuneIn app. Download the free Progressive Voices app or go to progressivevoices.com.